Welcome to Save As Ability, a podcast to educate and inform you about disability employment issues. My name is David D'Arcangelo, and I'm your disability policy expert.
Living independently with a disability. That's what we're talking about today on Save As Ability. David D'Arcangelo, great to be back with you for another episode here. Please help us continue to grow the channel. If you could like, subscribe, share, and comment, that helps us keep great content flowing for you. April is Autism Awareness Month. I'm wearing my Autism Awareness pin there. As you know, my daughter, our biggest fan here, Isabella, is on the spectrum. So we want to make sure we're representing people with disabilities and people with autism. We care about you. That's why we're doing these episodes. And today we're talking about living independently with a disability. Slightly different episode. We have an episode that aired maybe, I don't know, it was like 12 or so episodes ago that was called Independent Living. And that's a slightly different term and, connotation that we're talking about there. So this is living independently with a disability. And so today we want to talk about independence, and defining disability is where independence is where we're going to start. And what I would say is, let's not conflate independence with being alone or as being alone or, doing things alone. It's not really that aspect of independence that we're talking about here. It's more about independence over and having control over one's life and one's affairs, particularly as people with disabilities. So, that's what we're talking about here. So today we think of people without disabilities as having full independence, right? Like, you don't have to rely upon others to be able to travel. Like, if you're a person with a disability and you can't drive, well, now you're depending upon others, right? So again, that's where we're coming at independence here, and the level of control that you have over your own affairs. So this control can involve, when you're a person with a disability, can involve using technology, using assistive technologies or adaptive technologies to be able to be in control of your affairs. Personal care attendants that can help you control your independence. Other community support systems, other programs that are in place, all designed to keep you as independent and self-determined as possible. Really, that's the goal. I mean, here in America, isn't that what you want? You want to be free to travel, free to do your own banking or chores or whatever the case may be. That freedom, that independence is what we're talking about. So, it does vary, though, based upon each prevalent type of people with disabilities. And even further than that, there's really no one set that's going to go along with it, because if you show me 1 million people with disabilities, I'm going to show you 1 million separate instances of the human condition and how that independence is going to be personified. But let's bring some data in here. Let's talk about, like, the CDC, the Centers for Disease Control. Their data indicates that approximately 7.7% of U.S. adults have an independent living disability. So that means that they experience difficulty in doing errands alone, or things like visiting a doctor's office or going shopping or doing banking or, going out into the community. That's significant. Those barriers to independence are what we're talking about here in terms of having control of your own affairs. So this is everything from accessible housing and making sure that we have housing that is available to people with disabilities to be independent. Having those housing options, supportive services. So that's many of the government programs, whether it's the federal government programs or the state government programs, which are oftentimes flowing from the federal government, or even local programs or private programs that are put in place. These supportive services really help deal with the inadequacy that is out there to make people independent, and can provide things like personal care attendants or a home health aide, or, again, assistive technology devices, so that you can be as independent and self-determined as possible. That's the goal. But there's also other aspects to it as well that people without disabilities may not typically consider. Things like financial constraints, like, there's income limits on many of the programs that we just referenced and many of the solutions that we just referenced. Like, how do you get those benefits but still keep your employment or keep your assets intact. And so that's something that we're working on policy-wise to try to address. There are tools and resources out there that are geared towards making people with disabilities as independent and self-determined as possible. So again, whether it's adaptive technology, assistive devices, we've had episodes on that. So, smart home devices, screen readers, mobility aids, all the stuff we've talked about previously, many of those are geared towards improving a person's with disabilities independence, okay, and overcoming those barriers. So, at home, there's things like modifying your house with ramps or, adjustable countertops or, making your living space more accessible can make you more independent, right? So again, giving people out there, both people with and without disabilities, and understanding that independence personifies itself in many ways. Yeah, it's being able to get out there and vote for who you want, or like the band and go visit the band you want, or the concert venue, or whatever the case. Yes, it's that, but it's also all of the other things that you may not typically consider, like being able to toilet yourself independently in your home. Like that's a very real thing for a significant amount of people with disabilities. Community access as well. Access to reliable public transportation that's accessible for people with disabilities, making sure that policies are in place so that service animals, and everybody understands that service animals are part of making people with disabilities independent and self-determined. So achieving independence, it's not one static thing, it's a process. And we're all in that together, both people with and without disabilities. So I don't have all the answers here, but we do have some of the solutions that we know. We know that universal design helps improve access to opportunities and supports independence and self-determination. We know that many of these programs are outdated and they need to be modernized. So we're working on that to try to make that better, to try to raise the awareness and get people understanding that just because you have a disability doesn't mean that you don't have ability. Matter of fact, you can't have a disability without first having ability. So let's focus on your ability and what you can do, not what you can't do. The barriers are real and they exist, but we're trying to overcome them. That's why we're talking about it here at Save Visibility. Hope you enjoyed this episode. If you could throw us a like, comment, share, or subscribe, we'd appreciate it. I hope you're having a great day. David Darkangelo, another episode of Save Visibility. We'll see you next time.
For more information about disability employment issues, please visit our website, disabilityemploymentsolutions.com. The Save As Ability podcast is available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, our YouTube channel at Disability Policy Expert, or wherever you stream your podcasts. Subscribe, stream, rate, and review our shows. Your ratings and reviews help our show reach new audiences. Produced by Pod Pro Entertainment. Save As Ability lives within a network of podcasts located at podproentertainment.com. #The New Radio. Again, my name is David Darkangelo, and I'm your disability policy expert. Until next time, thank you. I hope you have a great day.